Hello and welcome to another Miss Ellie Can't DIY video. Today I cannot wait to show you how I made this adorable pink burlap bunny wreath. Perfect for Easter and farmhouse decor. I just love how this wreath turned out. I think she is so adorable and I made her using all Dollar Tree products. So let's go ahead and get started. For this DIY, you're going to need this bunny wreath from the Dollar Tree, and I picked the one with a pink bow because it will match my burlap ribbon. So the first thing I did was I removed all of the white garland that is all around the bunny, and I did this just by twisting it off. The wire is just kind of twisted around those little knobs that are on the bunny wreath. I also removed that pink bow. I had to use scissors because it didn't want to just rip off. It is hot glued, but I just took my scissors and cut it off, and then I continued to take the rest of the garland completely off of the bunny. So once I had all of the white garland off, it was time to start putting on the pink burlap ribbon. I did this by beginning at the base of the wreath, like where the bunny's belly is. I don't think there's any right or wrong place to start this, but that's where I decided to go. And I took that burlap ribbon and I had it on a slight angle so that the ribbon wouldn't bunch up. I also just continued to wrap this around, and when I reached the end of the burlap ribbon, I just used my hot glue gun to glue it down to the back of the wreath. So taking a small square piece of that burlap ribbon, I just folded it over basically in half, and then I took that and wrapped it around the middle of the wreath and glued it to the back. This was the easiest way that I could see to have the burlap in that area and not look all bunched up, just because the burlap is a little bit chunkier of a ribbon. So for each ear, I did take my burlap ribbon and wrap it around fairly tightly to the ear, and then I cut the ribbon off and I hot glued that to the back of my bunny wreath. Looking back, I should have started my burlap a little bit higher because I ended up needing to take a piece of the burlap and glue it to the ear, to the back of the ear, and then fold it and glue it, and fold that piece and glue it so that I achieved the shape of the ear that I wanted. If I had started with my burlap ribbon and just looped it a little bit higher, I could have folded it without grabbing another piece. But it worked out in the long run, and I did this for both of my ears. So the next part I did was the smaller circle, the face of the bunny, if you will, and I just wrapped the burlap ribbon in the same fashion that I did for the bigger circle, except when I got to the ears, I noticed if I had wrapped the burlap ribbon through the ears, it would have made for more of a bump than I wanted to have there, so I ended up just cutting my ribbon so that I had about 3 inches or 3 or 4 inches or so, just enough so that I could then take that and just glue it to the top of that smaller circle, as I'm showing in the video. That way it looked nice and flat and there weren't any big bumps. And then when gluing that little piece of the burlap, I did put some glue on both of the ears and the center of the ears, and then I took another object just because it was really warm, really hot glue, and I pressed it in the center so that it was nice and secure, nice and snug up next to the wreath form. And I did that on both sides of the ears, and then I just continued to wrap it around, and I glued the end of the ribbon in the same way that I did for the larger circle. And then once I was done with one layer of the burlap, I did go back in with some pieces of the burlap, and I put the pieces of burlap wherever I thought that the bunny needed a little bit more coverage, where I thought that the wreath form was showing through the burlap just a little bit too much. For instance, I put some at the top where the ears of the bunny are, and I also put some at the neck wherever the wreath was showing through. I didn't want to be able to see the plastic of the wreath. And I also put some more burlap on the base of the bunny, and then glued it just the same as I did before on the back of the wreath. And then taking these adorable white baby's breath flowers from the Dollar Tree, I simply cut off some of the flowers, and I did do some in bunches at the top of the bunny's ears, sort of like her crown. I just thought this was super adorable, and I did do this with hot glue, but I also noticed that I could stick the flowers into the burlap, and that also worked really well. I did do like a combination of a little glue on the end of the flowers and stuck it in to the burlap, and I just think that this is super cute. I did end up putting these little flowers on half of the bottom circle of the bunny wreath, basically her belly, starting at like where her neck is in the middle of the wreath, going towards the left of the wreath, and just kind of flowing all the way down for half of the bunny wreath. I just think it's absolutely adorable, and I did try and scatter these like they were climbing all the way down. And I did this in the same fashion with hot glue. So here is how this bunny turned out. I did end up taking that bow that came with the wreath and hot gluing it back into the center, just because I think it added that little something extra. I think she turned out absolutely adorable. I just love the little white flowers, and I am so happy with how this turned out. And here she is next to the other decor that I've recently created. If you want to check these out, I will link them in the description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to pounce on that like button and hit subscribe. It seriously means so much. I hope you have a wonderfully perfect day. Thank you again for watching this video, and if you want to see more like this from me, feel free to click on that notification bell so you can be notified every single time I upload a new video. I'll see you all next time. Until then, this is Miss Alley Cat DIY signing off. Bye!